What's up guys? Today I'm here to review another scooter on the channel. This one I really can't pronounce. It's just a random name that they came up with, so I think it's called Ruitoo or Ruitoo. Who knows? Who cares? We're going to talk about the scooter. The name doesn't really matter, but this one is called the T2 Max. So this scooter has a lot of features, some of which I could not figure out for the life of me because the user manual wasn't that clear, and I tried to figure it out through the menu system, which is very difficult to get into in the first place, and you probably need to work for the company in order to know exactly how to use this thing because it's not very user friendly. Now you see this scooter comes with 3 different modes that in the user manual calls gears, and I have set it to, according to the manual, gear number 3, which is the highest, but it does not go faster than 17 miles an hour. I looked online, I looked everywhere, including TikTok and Instagram and everywhere, and I typed up the company. I couldn't find any information about it. So I'm kind of stuck at 17 miles an hour, even though this does claim to do anywhere between 26 to 28 miles an hour. So if you got one of these scooters and you got it to work, leave a comment down below. But anyway, it's got a 15.6 amp hour battery, which is pretty good, and it does 31 miles on a single battery charge. It depends on what kind of terrain you're going on, if it's hilly or not, and what speed you're going on, so that really depends for everybody. So take that with a grain of salt. But anyway, it's got dual suspension, and the suspension, while I was riding it from my house to here, I did go on the grass. It does work fairly well. As you can see, it's got shocks in the front, pretty gnarly, and then it also has a shock in the rear, extra gnarly. That's pretty cool. You normally don't see that, so I like that a lot. And then they also mentioned that this scooter is UL certified. Once again, I'm not entirely sure. The manual didn't state anything about UL certifications. A lot of these companies, these Chinese companies, they just put on stuff and expect everybody to believe it. So a lot of these things take with a grain of salt unless you see a UL certification. The other thing I was quite surprised about was that this has ABS brakes. I did test out the brakes, and I believe that the whole ABS thing is probably a little bit of a marketing gimmick per se, because it stops you using the electronic brakes. But it also has physical brakes in the front as well as in the rear. While we go on the road, we're going to test it a little bit more, and I'll give you my definitive answer about what I think about that. And then it does have a cool lighting system. Let's go ahead and turn on the scooter. You hard press this. This does turn on. If you... Oh, there it is. Okay, so if you double tap, the light turns on the handlebar as well as over here, which is pretty cool. And then it also has a dedicated light in the front, which is pretty visible during the day, and I'm sure at night this thing is just going to be like full blast on. Check that out. See how bright that is? Even during the day it's super bright. So yeah, those are some of the positive things that I like about this scooter. But anyway, let's go ahead and take it for a little spin. This scooter is advertised as being an off-road scooter, and we're kind of off-road, right? Kind of. Let's go ahead and put it in the maximum setting. As I mentioned before, I couldn't figure out how to change the speed, so the fastest I'll be able to go is 17 miles an hour, unfortunately. The claimed miles per hour, that's something I've yet to figure out, so hopefully somebody in the comment section can help me out if you have one of these scooters. But anyway, off-road capabilities, pretty good job of doing it right now. As you can see, my voice is kind of going in and out, but it's not like I'm gonna break my back or anything like that. The suspension does a pretty good job, surprisingly. As far as the ride quality is concerned, once you're on pavement, pretty good. Yeah, not that bad at all. Even though these are off-road tires, they should feel a little bit more rougher than this, but surprisingly, riding on tarmac, or I should say the sidewalk tarmac, yeah, feels pretty good. Not too bad. There's little bumps here. You see I'm just taking these little bumps like a champ. The scooter does have a 0 start feature as well, I think, based on what I read in the manuals. As you already know, they're written in Chinglish. You need You need a Chinglish degree in order to figure anything out. So I was not able to figure that out either. As I mentioned to you, the menu system is extremely difficult. It's not user-friendly at all. Unless you work at the factory, then it might be something that you can figure out. But yeah. So one thing I will point out, though, that I probably don't like, besides the menu system and the fact that I couldn't figure out the speed, is the ability for this scooter to turn. Let me go ahead and demonstrate what I'm talking about while I stop here. Now you see there's a lot of resistance when you're turning the handlebar. Most of the time when you turn the handlebar, it moves really easily. There isn't that much resistance, but I think for the most part, whatever that's here, which is the bearing as well as this clamp here, I think this was the way it was designed, but I wish it wasn't that difficult to move this, because when you're actually riding the scooter, turning feels very, very lazy. Like, it's got a very lazy turn in. That was one of my observations, but besides that, this scooter does have some good ground clearance, so I really don't suggest that you take this scooter off-road. Even though they advertise the scooter to go off-road, I don't think you want to go off-roading with this kind of scooter. So if you keep your thumb pressed on the throttle and you're going off-road, number one, it's going to hurt your thumb. And number two, I think this throttle mechanism thing, because it's controlled with your thumb, and because it doesn't have a twist throttle on the grips, it could potentially break away. So that's something to worry about. Like, I was going on the grass, and of course I had to hold my throttle as well, or else I was going to slow down too fast. And that thought just came to me that if in case you do go off-road, that could potentially be an issue. But otherwise, on-road and on the street and sidewalks and things of that nature, this scooter rides like a champ. I think it's great. It does have a lazy turn-in because there's some friction or a little bit of hesitancy with the turning of the scooter, but most people who haven't ridden a lot of scooters with no knowledge of how these things are, or just they haven't tested out different scooters, are probably not going to have a problem with it. But because I test so many of these and I've ridden so many of these, not only in the channel but also in my personal life, these are some of the conclusions that I came up with, and that was something that was pretty obvious to me. But like I said, it may not bother you at all. Once again, let's go back to the suspension. Right now I'm not jumping, but kind of bouncing up and down on the suspension, and it seems to work very, very well. So that's one of its highlights, because I know I've been critical of the scooter and mentioned things that I don't like about it, but the suspension is something that I definitely like about it. Number two, it is very smooth. I definitely give it a thumbs up in that department. As far as aesthetics and looks and things of that nature, I don't know how I feel about it. It's kind of ugly if you ask me, but beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You, on the other hand, might think it's beautiful, right? So that's something that I'm kind of neutral about, because someone else watching this video might say to themselves, that's the most awesome looking scooter I've ever seen in my life. And so your opinion might be totally different from mine. So take this part of what I just mentioned with a grain of salt. There are a lot of scooters in the market that look like this, so yeah, I mean, there is a market for it. People do like them. Now, as far as portability, the scooter is kind of portable, but not exactly, because it is pretty lengthy. I don't know if this can fit inside of a sedan's trunk, like at least horizontally. Maybe if you put down your back seats, yeah, you could probably fit it vertically, but definitely not horizontally, sideways. That being said, if you have a large SUV or a truck, easy, very, very easy, very simple. But if you have a smaller car, it's going to be pretty challenging for you to move this thing around. Overall, I think this is a great scooter for the price, because a couple of years ago, a scooter like this with these features would probably cost somewhere around $900 to $1,000. But if you go on Amazon, these scooters are a dime a dozen. You're going to find them everywhere. So people are competing for price these days. I think it's a great scooter. You're going to have to make a decision yourself if it's something worth buying or not. And let me just check this out for a second. Yeah, so this looks like it's carbon fiber, but it's actually plastic. Yeah. So in case you're wondering, these are plastic. They're not carbon fiber, but they look like they are carbon fiber. But anyway, that's it for this review. Hope you enjoyed it, and leave a comment down below. Check you guys later. Peace.